Hello? I'm downtown. I'm by the courthouse. Why? Oh, podcast. Yeah. No, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'm about 5-10 minutes. Okay. All right. Bye.
No suit. No web shooters. Please, spare mask. All right, time to go. Stay down. All right. We're just gonna wait for the cops to come and get you. Good night. What's up, YouTube? It's Harry Parker with a podcast movie review for Spider-Man. I am here with my dad.
Hello.
So to start out, I have a questionnaires that we're going to be basing this off of. So the first question is, what does the character Spider-Man mean to you? Now, before we begin, I would love to tell you guys, you can give your answers in the comments. I would love to see them because Spider-Man's a very close character to me. So, what does the character Spider-Man mean to you?
Well, I think it means that it's more, although a comic book character, it's more grounded to more human-like or real life, I should say, because Peter Parker and Spider-Man, as Stan Lee once said, he based most of his things off of, real life, except they have superpowers, and, that's why they live in New York and they don't live in mythical places. Although my favorite character is Batman, Spider-Man to me means that, that humble kid that got a chance and an opportunity, although he didn't use it at first, a chance and an opportunity to do good, and he did. And not just for the greater of New York, but for his own hometown.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man to me, since 2002, when the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man came out, Spider-Man's been so big to me. He's the character that someone like me can relate to. I mean, I'm 19 years old, and all throughout high school, I just imagined, what would it be like if I were Spider-Man? And it was easy to do that because it's such a relatable character. Now, speaking of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, that brings us to our next question. What are your thoughts on how, Tobey Maguire portrayed Spider-Man?
I like the way Tobey Maguire portrayed Spider-Man because mainly, beside the animated series, because when I grew up, it was like the animated series. It was even further, a little bit further back. Spider-Man is Amazing Friends. These are all cartoons, but that's what I knew Spider-Man to be. So when I saw Spider-Man like that wasn't that cheesy TV show one, my favorite was Tobey Maguire, and then to me, level it wise, it'd be Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and then Andrew Garfield. But I like the way Maguire did it.
Yeah, he did such an amazing job, and people tend to not give him any credit for it. But I mean, the way I see it, without Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, we would have never have gotten Andrew Garfield's, and without Garfield's, we would have never had Tom Holland. And I mean, believe me, everybody loves Tom Holland because he finally got to be with the Avengers.
Yep.
So, how do you feel about Andrew Garfield's?
I thought he did a really good job. I felt like Maguire was okay, not in a bad way, but was more comic book.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like Andrew Garfield was a little bit more grounded. Of course, it was still a comic book, but it was you felt more grounded with him. Like, man, that could happen to me. But I thought he did a really good job at convincing us that that he was Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, like even in high school, I mean, that is the Spider-Man I based my entire high school career off of. I mean, I loved Tobey Maguire's, but his Peter Parker was very nerdy, and he got the girl at the end of the second movie. In The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, he was more of the cool guy nerd, the guy everybody kind of wanted to be, in a way, anyone like me, so that was awesome to really get to see that on film.
Yeah, I agree.
And going further on, during the Civil War age of the MCU, we got Tom Holland as Spider-Man, which was amazing for a lot of Spider-Man fans to finally get to see Spider-Man with the Avengers now. How do you feel Tom Holland has done so far?
Okay, because they already did the whole origin stories and everything, so we didn't get we know how he got his powers, but we didn't get to see it. But even with that, I thought even erasing that, it was still a really good job. I felt like, okay, I know I had said Tobey Maguire was more of that comic book one, but he was more of the I felt like I was watching, the animated series again. The smart little comments, the things that he did. I thought, and then the costume. I thought they did a really good job with the costume. So the costume with his acting, I think was an A+.
Definitely. I mean, Tom Holland has done such an amazing job with portraying the character. I mean, I even see some things on social media to where he even goes to children hospitals dressed as Spider-Man, and that's really putting yourself into the character's shoes. That's something actually Spider-Man would do. And it's easy for me to say something like that because I know what Spider-Man would do, since this is a character I relate to the most. So I mean, everything Tom Holland does is just an amazing job, and even the entire scene in Infinity War between him and Robert Downey Jr., that was all improv when Spider-Man was getting snapped away. And, all of that, it was just so beautifully done, and I give props to the actors and, everyone involved with that.
Yeah.
So, a question I really like anyone to answer, all throughout the years we've seen different types of webs. Now, with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, we've got the organic web shooting without any web shooters. And then later on we get Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland with their mechanical web shooters they made themselves. Now, what would you prefer? The organic webbing or the mechanical webbing, and why?
Here's what I'm going with. I'm going to go with the mechanical, and I'll go with Tom Holland's because they just felt more. I mean, Andrew Garfield's was cool too, but Tom Holland's felt more of what I remember, and and that's why I like the mechanical one because I like Maguire's because it was just coming out of his skin and everything, but when I saw the mechanical one and everything from the other two, I was like that felt more the word I'm looking for. Anyway, it felt more something I remembered, so that's what I'm gonna go with, and that's why.
I am going to vote also the mechanical webbing. Stan Lee said he wrote in Spider-Man having mechanical webbings because he wanted to give the character a scenario like what if he was swinging through buildings or fighting a villain and he ran out of web shooters. It just gives that extra motivation to the character like, okay, he has to figure this out now. And that's something we tend to like to see in our characters is, seeing how many things can they overcome, and it even gives us inspiration to overcome a lot of things in our lives. So that's why mechanical for me, but also it's a really good cosplay prop.
Well, I mean, look at the scene where the building was on top of him.
Which one?
It was Tom Holland.
Homecoming?
In Homecoming, and it was on top of him. Not saying the web would have helped him, but I mean, he had to use his strength. He had to use inner strength, and that's what not just sling his way out of it or use it as a pulley or something. He had to, that's why the mechanical one was more practical for me.
Yeah, that scene was actually really inspiring too. I mean, that's where he stopped being just a kid trying to fill in Tony Stark's shoes, but more, he became Spider-Man in that moment.
Well, that came from the actual comic book.
Really?
Yeah. They actually took that scene from the comic book and put it in there. So that was pretty cool.
That is very cool. Okay. This is another question I really like. Who do you feel was the best villain out of all of the movies?
Venom. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, out of all the movies, I'll probably, believe it or not, even though I like Maguire and he's my number one Spider-Man, other than, in order wise, I'm going to have to probably go with the Vulture. Just because it was more, because he was Batman,
Yeah, we were all surprised Spider-Man came out the victor going up against Batman.
Yeah, I know.
But it was a different character, so that's probably why.
Yeah. So anytime I can get Michael Keaton in there, I'm going to say Batman.
I will go with the Green Goblin, Tobey Maguire's. He did such an amazing job as the Green Goblin, and some of it could be a little cheesy, but I mean, it was 2002. But I mean, he really portrayed that character in an amazing way, and he even kind of did something like Batman does. He switched his voice from the Green Goblin to Norman Osborn. That's something that he didn't really have to do for the movie. Well, it was probably in the script, like, change your voice. But, I mean, just all of it was amazing. It really gave the sense, this is the Green Goblin, one of Spider-Man's biggest foes, besides from Venom.
Right. I really wish they would have did better with Venom, because I think that would have been a really bad as in good villain.
Yes, definitely. I mean,
Unfortunately, he was bad as in bad.
Yeah. I mean, even what they did with Tom Hardy's Venom was very, it was very pleasing to see such a good Venom and such a good pick for their Eddie Brock. I mean, nothing against the actor in Spider-Man 3 who played Eddie, but I mean, everybody knows Eddie Brock as a jock-type character. And though he's a photographer, Well, Spider-Man 3, he wasn't a jock type character. He was more whiny, kind
He
of.
was.
Especially, like, he kind of was creepy when he was kind of stalking Gwen. Let's be honest, he was stalking her.
I know. That's the first sign of serial killer.
So with all the talk on Tom Holland, why do you think Spider-Man had such a big impact on the MCU?
Because we were waiting for a long time to see, we had the Avengers and then we had Avengers here, we had Spider-Man there, we had X-Men over there. It was like a three-piece snowman. You couldn't get the pieces all to make one snowman. So we finally got two of the pieces, which was the Avengers and everybody else that was there plus Spider-Man, and that just made it exciting. It was like, it's Spider-Man. He's in there. It's no longer, like the redheaded stepchild. He has to stay away. No, he can come in and he can join in with the Avengers.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's the Avengers having him be a part of that is what made that so interesting and so, I've been saying this a lot, amazing. I mean, finally Spider-Man's part of the Avengers, and, his whole father-son relationship basically with Iron Man. I mean, again, those actors did such an amazing job with that. All of it. I mean, Spider-Man, Avengers. I even heard, I don't know if this is true or not, so some of you may have to correct me on this, that even the X-Men are gonna possibly be a part of the MCU, so we could even get that too.
Well, they can because Disney bought the world. So now that they own the world, they can put whoever they want. Hell, they're going to be putting in Casper the Ghost in the Avengers now too because Disney owns everything.
By the way, Disney is Thanos collecting all the studios, which are the Infinity Stones.
Yep.
So,
and then if they want,
getting.
and there you go, everything's gone.
And there you go. Okay. What is your favorite Spider-Man movie?
Well, I would go with, believe it or not, I'm going to have to go with Homecoming. I really did like Homecoming. I was surprised because I kind of had, I was excited to see it because we had seen Civil War and everything, but you never know how by yourself how it's going to turn out because, you just never know. I mean, look, we thought by adding Venom, Sandman, and Goblin, Part 3 was going to be great, and with Maguire, and that was like, wow. The little dance he did, that was just horrible.
Warp Zone said it better. The equivalent of nails to a chalkboard, that dance.
That was the equivalent of getting kicked somewhere very painful and not coming out of it right away. So, yes.
Like, I'm sure that they had trouble not laughing in that scene. Like, everybody in back of the camera just laughing and dying because of it.
Yeah, but then, don't get me wrong. I like Sam Raimi, especially Evil Dead. Come on, Bruce Campbell. Give him some sugar. But I think they were laughing, and I think he thought it's like, it's a good scene. No, man, they were laughing at you, not with you. But it's okay. They rebounded, and we got Garfield and Holland, so we all good.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's gonna be it'd be Homecoming, and yeah.
I think mine will possibly be Far From Home. I love all the Spider-Man movies. I can never watch them too much. There's no such thing for me as watching them too much. But Far From Home was a really good story considering it was Endgame. Spoilers in case you haven't seen, but by the time this video's out, you probably already have seen it or know what happened. So now that you've been warned, after the death of Tony Stark, I mean, seeing Spider-Man's transition on how he's going to deal with this, everybody's saying, is he going to be the next Iron Man? And he's just trying to be the next Spider-Man. And, seeing that storyline was really great to see. Plus, it was awesome getting to see Mysterio in live action. A lot of people say that he was the worst villain, as in, they should have never have used a Mysterio, but I mean, he was very angry at Tony Stark for stealing an idea or something, but I mean, dude, deal with it. He's richer than you, and he's better than you. But I mean, getting to see Mysterio in live action, that's something I actually never thought I would be able to see. We have seen Green Goblin like 3 times, because both Harrys and the Norman. Right. We've seen Dr. Octavius. We've seen Venom 2 times. We've seen Sandman. We've seen the Lizard, Electro. I feel like I'm missing someone. No, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, Vulture. Yes.
Vulture, yeah.
Can't forget Vulture. Batman. Vulture. So, that was really cool to see. Far From Home was beautifully done.
Yeah.
And, I also like it because when making fan films, you suggested to me do it in another area.
Right.
I couldn't really think how would I be able to do that, and then Spider-Man Far From Home comes out and they did it in another area, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
See, I'm telling you. But, no, seriously, though, because you brought that up, and yeah, I agree. It was a good movie.
But I also love the other ones.
Yeah.
Gotta mention that. So, for the final question, this is the one that I see debated on social media all the time. Who do you think is the better Spider-Man? Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, or Tom Holland?
This is the thing. When I say I like Tobey Maguire the best, that's what I think that's who I'm saying I like the best. Now, who do I think did the best job? To me is a different question that you're asking. It's a different question. So because when I'm about to answer, people are going to be like, well, you just said, I know what I said. I said it over there, now I'm over here. So now what I'm trying to say is, I'm going to say Tom Holland. Because you got that feeling, that nostalgic feeling of the animated series, of Spider-Man, His Amazing Friends, even the back of the spider was the same kind of emblem he had and things like that. And just the way he carried himself felt more like, that's what I remember. So, that's what I liked. That's what I remember. So, I think Holland did the best job as Spider-Man.
You see, for me, people get irritated with me sometimes because they ask me this question and I never give them one answer. I mean, it's one answer, but split up, because I can't choose just one. For me, I feel Tobey Maguire was the best Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield was the best Spider-Man. Tom Holland was the best of both. Because, Peter Parker, everybody knows him as the nerdy guy that has trouble with his social life. And his Spider-Man, he was very responsible, and he had some quips, but not as many as Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and that's why his Spider-Man would get, he's Spider-Man. But when we get Tom Holland's, we talk about his, we get the very nerdy Peter Parker that's a very, very science nerd. And then we get his Spider-Man who's just full of quips. Especially when he fought the fake Avengers in the bank.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not the real Avengers, I can tell. Hulk gives it away. Things like that, that's where you can tell that is Spider-Man. So just the little things like that. So, before we finish up here, is there any last comments you'd like to make, or?
Well, no, I'll say this. And I mean through animation, through movies, which would you say was the best costume?
I really enjoyed with Tom Holland again, his homecoming suit. You know, I even like the background behind it because Peter Parker cannot afford anything
Right.
like the material of the Spider-Man suit. So with his beginning suit with just a regular hoodie and basically pajama clothes, that made more sense. But when Tony Stark gave him the suit, it was like, okay, this makes more sense. Now it's a comic book, movie, and TV shows, so I don't really question it all that much. But if it were to be real life, something like that makes more sense than a poor kid making a really nice suit that looks like it could have been hundreds of dollars, which honestly, that's probably how much it was to make those suits for the movies.
I can tell you what, I can give you like, what is it, the best four? It would be the Tom Holland suit from Homecoming, the other suit from Far From Home, because they were two different suits. Then it would go Andrew Garfield's, and then Maguire.
Which
Tobey's.
Andrew Garfield's? Because remember, he had a different suit from part 1 and part 2.
The part 2 one.
Yeah, I really like that one too. That's actually the one that I make more videos with in my town. That's the suit you guys will be seeing me in. So that should be fun.
Yep.
So, well, this is the end of the video. Thank you all for staying tuned. I really hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I really hope you comment down below your answers, because Spider-Man is honestly a subject I can talk about forever. I mean, he's my favorite Marvel character. I always split it up, I have to, between DC and Marvel, because DC, it's the Flash.
See, for me, DC is Batman. Marvel, oh man, it's such a toss-up, because honestly, it's like a toss-up between Spider-Man and the Hulk. Just because the Hulk is so, like, Hulk mad! I just like that. His vocabulary is like limited, but it's limited to where I can understand it.
Alright, well, that is it for this video. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye.
Talio.
That was faster than I thought it would happen.
I wouldn't try
Maybe Marco could go and point at you for you to jump. Because that might work a little better there, Spidey.
Yeah, because then I have to completely block you out because you're becoming in frame.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try it again. You can edit out, right?
Yeah.
So if I start recording, because I know it's possible, I'm just saying you can do it, right? If I start recording a little bit before, like if I say action and you hear me, you can get it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that way, because I notice when you hit record, it does a little jump. And I'm trying to get that out. Okay, go ahead. Going back on the side.
It's annoying, but you can do it.
And
Don't go anywhere.
You clapped. Clapping usually means, alright, you're good.
You okay?
Yeah.
See, we're good.